Hello, everybody, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Life with Lily. Today, we're going to be talking about sigils, intentions, and symbolism. And actually, when I made this and sent it out in a newsletter, my mother actually contacted me and thought I spelt something wrong because she had never heard of sigils. So I think it's important that we all talk about it now. And joining me today, let's pop them up on the screen, is Stacie Murphy. And Stacie is one of the owners of Rock Solid Mamas, who I love their product and all the energy that they put into it. So Stacie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and why you are amazing at sigils?
Well, this business all started from an idea that came about in 2009. It took us about 9 years to actually put a concept together and figure out what we wanted to do. So one of my best friends, Cindy, is one of my business partners. And then my husband is also one of our business partners. He's our tech guru. So he's my go-to when I need help with stuff. But we just started getting into working with crystals and gemstones and everything because the energy and people need tools, to help focus on what it is they're trying to accomplish. And to give them ease and they're pretty. What the heck, So, they're multi-purpose, but the whole thing with sigils came around because I had people asking, well, what is this stone good for? And I'm like, well, let me make it easy for you. And so I started putting together little packets of stones that work for anxiety or, motivation or whatever. And I thought there needs to be something more. And what can I help you do to focus on what the intention is of what you're doing and why you want these stones? And so I started playing around with sigils and I did a bunch of research and there's a lot of different ways you can create sigils. And I like to keep it as simple as possible. Because people need to be able to do it for themselves, because I might not always be within arm's reach at a festival, a fair, an event, whatever. Yeah. Or, people like to try to do things for themselves. So, hey, here's how it works. And so we try to keep it as simple as possible and make it something that people can relate to and connect with.
Yeah. And it's also like that you touched on, there are many different techniques to creating sigils. Like anyone can create a sigil, and there are many different ways to do it. Like the way that I was taught is to write all the letters like on top of each other and take out all the repeating letters and do it that way. And then eventually you get like a design. So for the people like my beautiful mother, who you all know I love, who does not know, what is a sigil? Like, how would you explain a sigil to somebody?
From my perspective, and people approach it differently. It depends on, chaos magic or, wherever you're getting your information from. Simply and most basic, a sigil is a symbol of something you're trying to achieve or your intention. So the easiest way to describe it is, have you ever just done a doodle and that doodle has really been important to you for whatever reason, whatever was happening in the moment, that every time you see that little doodle on your notepad or the corner of your notebook, it takes you back to that moment, or it helps you remember what it was you were doing, where you were headed, what you were trying to achieve. That simple doodle could be a sigil for that intention, for whatever it was that was in your head at that moment. So for me, most basically, a sigil is a very intention-specific symbol.
Yes. It's, for me, I would agree. It's a symbol. It's a design that has symbolism, that means something to you. Correct. And understanding that everyone's take on that can be different. Like a lot of people, like the cross, the upward cross that you see in Christianity, it's like that can be a sigil, but to each person, its meaning can be different. Some people would see it as a form of Jesus Christ. Some people would see it as a form of servitude. And so when you're talking about, when people deal with sigils and making them, understand that it's personal. If that doesn't mean the same thing to somebody else, fuck them. It's not their design.
Exactly.
That's not what that means to me, bitch. It ain't yours.
And that's it too, because say for instance you were doing a sigil for anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Now some people don't take out vowels, some people do.
Mm-hmm.
If you take out all the vowels in anxiety, you're not left with much.
It's true.
so again, that's a personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a lot with what you have left, just depending on how creative you want to be with it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need that guidance of having the extra pieces to put into your sigil, that's the way I do it most frequently is I will write down what the intention is, and I'll take out all the duplicate letters. And then if there's not enough letters left that I feel like I can come up with a good design, I'll leave the vowels in, or I'll leave in Y, because Y can be so visually interesting. And then what I do is I deconstruct those letters into their individual pieces. So like a P would have a line and a curve. And the Q would either be, the circle with the line with the tail or whatever. So you have all of those pieces. And then I take one whole letter, and that's usually my center starting point. And then I build from that. So that's how I do it. Other people, they're by the book. You got to take out all the vowels. Okay, well, that's fine, but again, it's personal. There's a school of thought out there where you have all the letters arranged in a table, and they're all assigned numeric values. So then you take that and you transpose it to a very specific table with the numbers in a certain order, and then you draw from whatever's left to create a sigil out of that. I find them not very interesting. They don't stir me visually, so I'm not going to connect with it as well. So that's why I like building my own from the ground up. I don't want to do math. I don't want to do numbers. So
and some people are very logical with their sigils. You're right that it's like, yes, I need the numeric factors, and that's what makes sense to me. And if that's you, rock it out. It's just not us.
Exactly.
And then there are some people who take creative license. So it's like, oh, there are the letters, and here's your main, but I like a little spiral in the corner, or they want a little wing ding, or whatever. They add something, the creativity. So it's not just a strict, and that's fine too. It's all spirituality is about finding the way that works for you. And as long as it's not like ethics or like something with your health, do it.
Exactly.
Like eating 10 pounds of broccoli a day, not healthy, no matter the spiritual results. Not healthy.
No.
So it's just finding what works for you. So as we talk, please remember that there is nothing that is like that we're saying it's set in stone. These are just our styles of how we make sigils and why they're important to us. So the next thing I want to talk about is, so now you have this design. Where does it go?
Well, that's when you make a decision. Is this a destructible sigil? Is this something that you are going to fire up your intention by lighting it on fire, burying it in the dirt so that it composts itself,
flushing it down the toilet, depending on how much you dislike the thing that's happening,
burying it in the cat box, whatever. So you have to make the determination if it's destructible, temporary, or long-term or permanent. So destructible is something you're going to destroy in some way. Most frequently, it's written on paper, set it on fire. That's the practice I see most often. Message in a bottle. Kind of idea. Temporary, you can write on your skin with an eyeliner pencil, with a marker. Carve it in a candle, burn the candle. Put it in a bar of ritual soap, and it's there until that bar is gone. And then for permanent, it's a piece of pottery. It would be a tattoo. It could be something put on a bag or a piece of cloth that you carry with you, that you keep in your wallet. You tuck it behind a photograph or a picture. So it's always there for the intention.
You can have it stitched into your clothing, and it's with disposable ones, with ones that you're meant to destroy. I guess my question is, can you reuse it? Like, this sigil is meant to help me forget about an ex. Then with every X, can you use the same sigil, or should you alter it slightly for that specific energy?
See, to me, I would probably, I'd probably keep the base design, but I would probably alter it because the intention is the same, but each one of those people carries a different energy and has a different impact. So there may be little added details that you need to include. Maybe the same sigil will work for two X's. Maybe you went out with this, you got back together with the jerk. I don't know.
Yes. So, and I would agree that it's like they shouldn't be identical if there's even a subtle shift in the energy.
Right.
Because if it's for a different person, even if it's, well, that was a toxic X and this is a toxic X, it's like, but their energies aren't identical because no one is identical. And, oh, you wanted one for focus with work, but you should change it if it's going to be a focus with school. You know, that it's, if the energy, even if it's a subtle shift, don't reuse the same sigil. They can have the same, like you said, base components, but not identical, because then it's, I almost feel like it's diluted, like it's rewashing and like losing its potency, but it's also not authentic anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes complete sense.
Okay.
Because again, and you're not the same person you were with the new X as you were with the old X. So your energy has changed too. So you may look at that and go, okay, it's pretty much the same situation, but I need to make these tweaks. And only you can make that determination. But honestly, I wouldn't reuse the identical symbol.
I agree. And you bring up a good point. It's not, with sigils, it's not just about the situation. It's not just about what you want, to happen and the reaction. It's you, if you have changed energetically. So I think that kind of needs to be talked about. So you're using the same sigil for focus, and all of a sudden you're unfocused, and they're both with work. Like, you're still at the same job, you're still doing the same thing. But if the sigil's no longer working, you could have changed enough that you need to make a new sigil. You're not, the goal is not to be stagnant your entire life so one sigil fits everything. That's not the goal.
Right.
No matter how pretty it is.
Nor is it the goal to, necessarily tattoo 37 sigils up the back of your leg.
Right. Uh-huh. Yep. Because
if one of those sigils is no longer working for you, then it's permanent, and it's always, that energy is always going to tag along. So, weigh that choice very wisely.
Be selective with it. So with sigils, so they're not sigils, but they are symbols, and symbolism is something that we're talking about. And symbolism is basically just significance behind a message or a design that you have. And so my back, both of my shoulders, have symbols on them, and they are not sigils, but one is the pentacle and one is the Trinity. And I got them for milestones in my life. And I promised myself that every time I reach a spiritual milestone, I'll get a symbol tattooed on my body. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little behind, to the point where, like, my back is supposed to be covered and I still just have the two. But eventually up the spine will be covered also, and then both my wrists. But so and they still mean something to me. So it's like, you're right. Wait, like, is this going to be important for the rest of my life? Or is this going to be important in my 20s? And that's a big thing. Like, that's something to be aware of.
Yeah,
and
very much so.
It's not the only option. Like, I write, so I'm left-handed, so I do a lot of stuff on my right arm. And so I'll do the sigils on my arm in marker or whatever, in pen, because I want to do it for the day. Like, there is, I can't remember what it's called. It's a Norse name, but it's basically the sign that means I'm the master of my own destiny. And I have that up my right arm on a regular basis if I want to be in control of my life. And it's also on the right because the right is the masculine and the doing side. So yeah, when you put sigils on your body, they don't have to be permanent. And be aware of also where you put them. Like,
placement's critical.
If you put like a sigil that means I want to find the love of my life on your butt, I think you should rethink that life choice. I honor whatever you choose, but maybe not that.
Yeah, that's kind of at cross purposes. That might be an energy shift you're not looking for.
That might be complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
It's being aware of those things, because a lot of people who just start with sigils or don't really know how to use them are, oh, well, I can just draw something pretty and that's it. It's like, well, there is more to it, and how you use it. And is it permanent? Is it temporary? Is it destructible? There are so many things that you have to pay attention to. And like for me, I like the ones that are temporary. I have very few permanent sigils. I know they're like, you can draw on the bottom of your shoe a sigil to stay grounded. I think those are super cool. You can, like I said, stitch them into your clothing. You said put them on a bag. You can buy, do you have your mojo bags with you? You can buy a mojo bag and keep it on your altar. Yep. You can see, and the sigils are different and they mean different things.
So this one is one that it's called the Empath Shield. And that is to protect empaths from that negative energy that people tend to get on. It's like, if you've got someone who's in your life and you tend to absorb that energy, this would be a symbol you could use for that.
Yep.
Because it's kind of a combination of a shield and, the all-seeing eye kind of combination. So that's kind of where that one came from. And then this one is freedom from my anxiety.
Okay, I see that. Yeah.
So this one's a little bit different. And so this also, again, something I just put together, combination of that type of thing. But one of the big things with designing your sigils too is the intent behind them, because a lot of people, I can take the letters of what I'm trying to say, what my purpose is. I can take those letters and put them together in a pretty design. But if I'm not using the right intention to achieve it, then it's something completely different. You need to be in an active tense, I am, as opposed to I will be. Or I want to. No, it's I am.
Yep. Or I hope. I did a manifesting episode a while ago, and I was like, okay, I hope sounds a lot like Santa. I hope Santa brings me a good boyfriend. I hope Santa brings me peace of mind. I hope Santa. Every time someone's like, I hope, I'm like, that's great. That can be in a sentence, but it cannot be in your intention or your manifesting at all. Right. I hope is just Santa. That's all it is.
Yep. It's wishy-washy.
Yes. And while we're talking about the mojo bags and everything, if you want them, you can go to this website and check it out. I love the sigil bags because they have different healing stones that match the sigils on them. And we did an Instagram live on the fly. You were so good, though.
Oh, God.
Pride Day at Minnehaha Falls on September 11th, and I bombarded Stacie.
She just attacked. That was awesome.
And we went on a live to talk about sigils and stuff, and that's actually what made this episode happen, is that we were like, yes, let's do it. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, of course you can message Stacie. She is awesome. Hello, jury. Yes, you should bring them to Salem. I think it is absolutely necessary to bring at least the empath one to Salem. That's always fun. But yeah, so, and you actually touched on the next question that I didn't even have to ask. You're so on top of it. So it's, why are intentions important with sigils?
Intention is what powers the sigil. It's what empowers the sigil creator or user. So what you need to do is you need to set a very specific goal. I want a new job. Okay. But you need to be more specific than that.
Yeah.
Is it, I want a new job with the same company? Is that I want a job with a different company? Do you want the same job in a different company? So it's great to have this gigantic goal, but you kind of need to break it down into smaller steps, because I want a new job might get you fired and you end up, nothing against Starbucks or Caribou, but you might end up slinging coffee for a while.
Yes.
That's probably not your intention. So intention needs to be very specific.
Yep.
And you brought up a good point. People don't necessarily know the difference between invocation and intention.
Yep, that's another one of the questions. What is the difference for people who, so many people don't know this. Take it away, Stacie.
Exactly. Invocation is used in a lot of religious practices. Mm-hmm. You'll have one at a high school graduation. You'll have one at a funeral. You'll have them in many, many different places. And that is really the specific calling on your spirit guides, your angels, your gods, your goddesses, whatever, for support with whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And it doesn't necessarily need to be stated out loud, but spoken at least in your mind space.
Yep.
Whereas intention is self-communication. It's that very specific, putting it out in your universe through a conversation with yourself with a very, very specific goal in mind.
Yes.
And so that's how you activate your sigil in whichever, however you're going to use it, whether it's destructible, whether it's temporary, whether it's, permanent. The activation needs to be that setting of the intention, and that has to be self-communication. It's not, I can tell you what my intent is, but if I don't believe it myself, and I don't own it, the intention is moot.
You can say as many affirmations as you want, but if the energy is not aligned, if you do not believe it, if you're using words like I want, I need, I hope, it is not going to happen. And for me, so invocation is calling energy in. It's calling in the deities. It's calling in the universe. It's calling in. Where I view intention as speaking out. You're telling the universe, you're telling energy what you want. You are out. It's an energy pouring out of you that then the universe will react to. Where in invocation, it's like, okay, everything's being called in, and then it's a reaction. So that's how I see it. It's like an innie outie type thing.
Right. Yep. Agreed. And I mean, you could say something as simple as, I will wake up full of energy tomorrow. And you can draw that out on a little piece of paper, stick it under your pillow, speak it, and go to bed. And, if the intention works and your energy was right and you did your due diligence with your self-talk,
yes,
you will wake up full of energy tomorrow.
Exactly.
If you need to control your anxiety before, a job interview or, a test or whatever, then you need to be very specific. I'm not going to freak out at the test. I'm not going to, I will pass this test without stress or, however you want to
remember all the answers. Absolutely. And Cherie has another one, intent, but no more expectation after that. So once you set the intent, once you make the sigil, once you put the intention in it, then you don't worry. What I take by that is people really cock block themselves when it comes to the how. They're like, but I don't know how I'm going to make money. I don't know how I'm going to be healthy. I don't know how. It's like, okay, the universe is infinite knowing. Assume the universe knows more than you and will take care of it. It probably, I would say, correct me if it's different for you, at least 80% of the time looks nothing like I could have imagined. And it's amazing. Like, if you just let it happen, it's like, yep, there, and it'll happen. With specificity, I want to tell my horror story. So, set the intention. It was great. I am a badass. I own my own business. I am ready to start dating again. Woo! I'm gonna get a partner. Yeah. And I mean like a romantic partner. I don't need a business partner. I fly solo. Thank you. But so, partner. Sent it out. I should have said decent partner. Nice. Respectful. I should have added some descriptive words because the schmuck that drifted into my life for a few weeks, that it was like, what is happening? Like after a few weeks and like a few dates, he was like, okay, so I'm going to start running your business. I'm going to get you pregnant and I'm going to move into your house. And I was like, I'm going to cross my legs and call the police. Leave me alone. And it like, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I attracted that. There was a lot of inner work after that, not going to lie. But I looked at it and I was like, oh my God. I manifested so vaguely and honestly a little bit out of loneliness. And that's not something you want to put out into the universe because then you get schmuck boy. And so it was when you're doing it, be specific. Like, don't just say, I want a boyfriend, or I want a girlfriend, or I want a job, because it may be greeting people at Walmart with, I'm not throwing shade, but chances are that's not like your life's purpose or your happiness. And so be as specific with your sigil, with your intention, with everything as you can be.
Exactly. And it's like one example that someone that I've studied her work with sigils, she said, you can set the lofty goal. I want to have enough money to buy a house. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a lofty goal. Don't make that your intention, because that intention opens up an awful lot of avenues for that money to come. And darling, you don't want that to be your inheritance. Okay. So you need to be careful with that. So this is your goal. That's not your intention. So now to set the intention for that goal, I will find a better paying job. That will help me save money to achieve that goal.
Yes.
There you go. Now you've got it. So it's you can't be vague. You can't go too big. They're very specific. You think about people who do the dream boards all the time, or the vision boards. Those are very specific things that they want to achieve. Sigils are the same way. You need to be very specific in what you're trying to achieve using this symbol.
Yes. And another comment that came up, and as I'm sure people who have been watching have heard us talk about our intention, they've all been one sentences. An intention is not a paragraph. It is definitely not a novel. I know a few, don't act like I ain't talking to you. There are plenty of people out there who are writing their manuscript as their intention, and it's exhausting. So it's short and sweet. It's not just, I will sleep or something like that. I will feel rested when I wake up. I am rested. It's stuff like that. But it's definitely not several sentences long.
Right. Because remember that you're going to break that sentence down into pieces to create your design.
Yes. And so
believe me, you don't want to get into that.
It can get complicated real quick. Yes. And sometimes complicated is fine. A lot of people do complex magic. But when you're starting with sigils, complex is not the goal. Simple is the goal. I want it to be easy. I want a 5-year-old to be able to trace that for you.
Exactly.
And that makes it easier for you to understand, for you to be with the energy and everything. This is not an art contest. If you cannot draw, that doesn't matter. It's fine. Nope. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. So I know for a fact, for a solid fact, all of Stacie's sigils look better than mine, because my straight lines are not straight. Somehow they're all a little wavy, and I'm fine with that, because that's the way my sigils look. They just the movement. But I don't judge that, because that's the way mine are supposed to look. The fact that Stacie's always look crisp, clean, and professional also means that she's an expert at it, and she's been doing it forever. And so don't compare and think that it needs to be super artistic or super complicated or anything like that. You'll find your style, and my style happens to be a little bit wavy, partly because that's just how I write.
Exactly. And I mean, I cheat though, because I do have an art degree. So, and
we know your secret.
Yep, my secret's out. I did study fine arts in college, and I mean, and I've worked in tons of mediums. So, for me, I've been playing with doing the sigils in clay, and I actually invested in an engraver. So we now have an engraver so that I can do them on like little wood discs, things like that. Because we've kind of pulled out all the stops on this. We actually came up, I had some people. So this is a story about the sigils. I have some people who work in a really toxic work situation.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, I don't know if I dare put that on my desk, because either somebody's going to steal it, because they're an asshole, or they're going to start talking shit about me, or stir up trouble in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I really want something like that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, so what can we do with that to create a new idea for, to make sure that that sigil comes into play in their life in a way that they need it,
Mm-hmm.
and, not raise questions.
Yep.
So the sigils are making way
Mm-hmm.
onto the bottom of a little shot glass.
I
They
love
will
it.
be engraved in wood, and it'll be glued on like a little coaster,
Mm-hmm.
and it will be a crystal cocktail with the sigil on the bottom, so nobody will really even have to see that it's there.
Oh, lovely.
So it's, the whole thing has kind of developed a whole new like pocket protectors line for people,
Mm-hmm.
because the symbolism of the sigils is important, and it's resonating with people who don't necessarily know how to create their intention.
Yeah.
So being able to help people, kind of direct them. And I mean, I'm more than willing to teach anybody how to draw a sigil. It's not hard.
Mm-hmm.
Sigil magic is some of the most simple magic that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And we all carve symbols and signs into candles, and,
Yes.
draw them, doodle on notebooks, whatever. Yep. And so those symbols all have some sort of meaning. I mean, I have this one shape that I always draw. And I realize that that's my comfort symbol.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
When I'm feeling stressed or whatever, I just doodle the same thing over and over again. And I realize that that's my comfort sigil without even knowing. I mean, not even knowing when I was 12, that's what I was creating. So, for the last 43 years, I've been drawing this sigil without knowing it was a sigil.
Definitely. We've had a bunch of people sign on in the last few minutes. So hello, everyone new.
Hi.
Say in the comments. Alicia, Susie, hello. You guys have just popped on. So we're just talking about sigils and stuff. And I think it's important, like what you're saying, Stacie, they should be accessible. So, you can have it at the bottom of a shot glass. You can, and nothing is going to lessen the energy of it, like if you have it on the bottom of your shoe, it's not like, oh, that's disrespectful. It's like, that's what fucking hits the ground when I need to be grounded. So yes, that's where that sigil goes.
Exactly.
And there's, like you said, the doodling. I drew, and I haven't drawn it in years, but when I was younger and, just like in a really dark place, because, every teenage angst. Oh, yes. I drew the same thing over and over and over again, constantly. And it was a starburst going out while collapsing in on itself. And I realized much later in life that that's how I felt mentally all the time with my teen angst. And what I was doing was drawing a sigil, but I threw it away every time. I trashed it. And so it was like, yep, I'm getting rid of this energy. I'm getting rid of this energy. And now I can't remember the last time that I drew it or felt the need to draw it. And I used to draw it all the time. And so it's like, yep, they do work. And you find, even if you don't know you're doing it, like with doodling and stuff, it definitely does it. The way, so my mom doodles is she'll write like a sentence, and she's not intentionally making like a sigil, but she will put like little starbursts or circles or different shapes on the edges of the letters, like on the tops of each H and everything. And all of a sudden there's this design that goes with the word, but you can still read the whole word. But now it's like this whole intricate design thing. And I never understood that. And I'm like, she is really, as she's talking on the phone, she will do that with her notes. And it's like solidifying what's going on, and that this is memorable, and that this is what's going to happen. And so it's like, yes, honor your doodle.
Exactly. Don't, and if you have little ones who, with their crayons or their colored pencils or whatever, and they start drawing, a shape over and over again, then it's kind of that they're opening that door for you to ask the question. So what's going on? How are you feeling? Something, whatever. It's a question to ask, because I wish someone had asked me when I was 14 why I kept drawing that over and over again.
Yes.
And so it's sigils are a bigger part of our lives than people even realize. Yeah. And they become something that's recognizable. People have even said, well, really, brand logos are almost sigils.
The Nike swoosh.
Yeah, the Nike swoosh.
Mhm.
Because the intention is that, do it.
Yep, and it is.
And
It's
so
an active energy that goes through it.
exactly.
And with symbolism, with logos and everything, and with children, even my niflings, when they color and draw, I'll watch. And for the longest time, one of my niflings, the eyes of everything were red, whether they drew it themselves, whether it was a coloring book. And I was just like, what's going on? And through talking to the tiny human, it was they had nightmares. They had nightmares about monsters. They could never protect themselves. And it was like, you need more shielding before bed. Okay, we can do that. We can figure that out. So by drawing something, pay attention to the symbols in your life, not just the sigils, but like the symbolism and the messages that are coming through. Because a lot of people, because I asked other people, I'm like, does anyone else notice that all the eyes are red? And does anyone else find that
disturbing?
unusual? They're like, oh, I'm sure they just like it. And when I asked, I was like, hey, no judgment, just curious. What's with the red eyes? And they were like, oh, nightmares, and I'm scared, and I see monsters. And I'm like, we can fix that. We can fix that. And now when they have nightmares, they talk about it. And it's like, okay, was it better? Yes, someone saved me. It's like, yes, okay, good. I'm fine. Yep,
exactly.
So pay attention. Alicia says, I drew butterflies and hearts. I like that because butterflies have a lot to do with transformation. And if we're being honest, her entire life has been transforming. So yeah, that makes sense that would be one of the things, one of the symbols that you draw on.
Exactly.
So often.
Exactly.
And, pay attention to those things. I loved for the longest time penguins because I thought they were weird. And I love weird. I love weird. I love different. It's like they didn't fly, but they were still the most badass bird there was, sliding on their bellies. Yes. So I'm like, yep, to me, that was just a happy thing. Penguins were happy.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that, and there's nothing that says that you can't, when you create a sigil, that I will be happy.
Yeah.
You take that and you build your shape and you build your design.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's saying you can't sneak a penguin into it. Again, it's personal. It has to be, or maybe you get a notebook that has penguins on the paper and you draw your sigil in the penguin.
Yes.
Whatever it takes to make it work for you and to connect with you, because you have to connect with it for it to have any power whatsoever.
Yes, it's personal. It's not about anything else, because if you sit there and you ran up, Stacie, what about this? And showed Stacie a picture of the sigil. Brutal honesty, Stacie is an expert in sigils, and it doesn't matter for your sigil. So Stacie could say, I love it, I hate it, it's doo-doo, whatever, it's fabulous. But is it that for you? Because if you think it sucks, it doesn't matter how much Stacie likes it.
Exactly.
This is supposed to bring me calm and happiness, and you're sitting there looking at it going, it's not straight. And it's like, that obviously is not working, and maybe a different design. No matter what Stacie says as the expert, and going, oh, well, it's lovely and beautiful, and I can feel the power. It's like, yeah, that's an intense energy. Woo! Like, it's about you. Own it. Honor it. It not only should be empowering, but it should be exciting to feel like you have some control and that you can design your future in elements and symbols that's actually tangible, that you can put on things to learn more. And it can be sigils. So we've talked about like grounding and protection and, prosperity, but it can also be learning more or opening up your spirituality or your third eye or your intuition. You can make a sigil for that too. You can do
sigils about balancing your chakras. You can do something about healing your chakras. You can do if if you have a specific trauma that you're trying to heal, then you do heal my blah, make your sigil and put that thing in something you carry with you every day. And as that heals, you can adjust. You can make a new sigil when that energy is no longer necessary.
Yes.
Because once you start healing, then you're going to need to start growth.
Yep.
And you need to move away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, maybe part of that healing that specific trauma is I need to cut cords with this person.
Yep.
And do it.
Yes.
Make the sigil, make it happen, because you have to take back the power in your life.
Yep.
You can't dilly-dally. You can't be wishy-washy about it.
Sigils, while they are magic, are not unicorns. So
exactly,
you make the sigil, I'm going to get A's in school, I'm going to do well in school, but then you don't study and you get D's, that's on you, ho. Like, the sigil is meant to empower your actions. It's meant, you are Mario eating the mushroom. You are, woo! But, so it's like you're still doing the same things, but it's amplified. But if you don't do the things, then it doesn't matter that you ate the mushroom. You're not moving forward. You're not doing anything. So sigils are powerful when you give them power, but then also when you're projecting forward, when you're moving forward. And so I think people forget that a lot with many different forms of intention and magic, is that it's like, but I said the affirmations, but you still went to the same bar and asked the same douchebag with the same haircut and the same job out 15 more times.
Exactly.
Go to a different bar.
The road to hell was paved with good intentions. Yes. The intention is great, but you still have to do the work, because and it's not easy to do the work. Mm-hmm. Sometimes doing the work is painful.
Yep.
And it's stressful and it's anxiety inducing. So I've got a bag for that. So
absolutely.
Use all those tools. I mean, that's the thing, is that you can set an intention that, I'm going to focus on my business. Okay. Yep. I'm going to doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I will focus on X in my business, because you have to pick, again, I want enough money to buy a house is not an intention. That's a goal. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to define those things, and you have to be able to define what it is you really want. Yeah. What it is your true intention is, because again, baby steps get you to the bigger goal.
Absolutely. And it's I will. Again, it's not hope, want, or need. Those are lovely words for conversation, but those have no place in your sigils, in your intention, in your magic. And with sigils, as I'm looking at my water bottle next to me, it's a good thing. Like, you can put them on your water bottle, and that can be permanent or temporary, just like the shot glass. It can be at the bottom. So if I wanted an intention, I could write it with a Sharpie on my Mickey Mouse water bottle. But I could also, there are water bottles. I bought one for my mother because I love her very, very much. It's a blue bottle, and the glass is infused with the symbol of Om and has it hand etched on it, so that all the water that goes into it is infused with that energy. And I knew that my mom wasn't good at sigils and symbolism yet. And so that would be an easy way for her to be able to incorporate it. So there are ways, if you're sitting here going, too much, I can't, you can't expect me to do this. I need to take a class. I need to study more. That's fine. I will bop up the website again. So if you want to work with sigils, there are the mojo bags at rocksolidmamas.com that you can use. And Stacie and Cindy will answer all your questions. They are super nice and friendly. Don't worry, they don't bite unless provoked really, really bad and poked with a stick.
Or you ask.
Yeah, but it's like, consent is key. If you ask, they'll do it. Or you can, buy the water bottles with the symbols already on them. You can do that kind of stuff. There is, Laura Tempest makes a lot of different sigils, and I have her artwork up around my house and stuff. And so it's like, you can buy books that teach you about sigil making and stuff like that. And you can get sigils that people may post online. Pop up the comments again. So if a sigil is made public, you can use it. If it's not public, don't steal it, you douchey human.
Exactly. And by the same token, you can look at it and say, oh, that's a cool idea. Let me make my own version.
Yep.
And make sure you make it different enough that you're not copying somebody's work.
Yep. I heard a rule, and this isn't a magic rule, but it's an artist rule, that it needs to be a minimum, bare minimum of 20% different than the original for you to even remotely say that it was yours. So whenever you see something that you like, remember 20% of that needs to change. And why wouldn't you want to? Why wouldn't you want it to be your own flavor? I want it to be mine. I am an original, unique bitch. I want all of it to be mine. So don't go copying stuff off the internet. That's not the way it works. But if there are open source sigils out there, and there are creators who post their sigils on social media, there was several that came up at the beginning of the pandemic to help with calming and release negative energy and world harmony. And those were all beautiful. And those were made open source for everyone to use. But again, if it's not your property, don't use it unless you have permission. Like if I were to see a sigil that Stacie made and I was like, oh my God, I love that. Can I put that on my water bottle for the day? And if Stacie said, yeah, sure, why not? I would. But don't get me wrong. If she did it, I would whore it out so much. Every time someone looked at my water bottle, Stacie did this with Rock Solid Mamas. You want to go to her booth? It's over there. Thank you. And I would drink my water and be happy. But if Stacie said no, I would not put that sigil on my water bottle, no matter how much I felt drawn to it, or that the universe told me this was the sigil for me. It's not mine. It's Stacie's. I have to ask. So remember those things. And I know I'm sounding like really right now, and I'm not meaning to, but this is an important part, because if you're stealing someone's sigil, you are messing with that energy, and you definitely are not getting the benefits of that.
It won't serve. It's not going to serve your intention.
No.
A couple of things too about when you're creating your sigils. Don't try to do it at the kitchen table with wee ones running around, parents yelling at pets, football game going on. Make sure that you grab a quiet space. If you need to put on, ambient music, light a candle, do whatever, diffuse essential oils. You need to create that space, whether you want to call it your creator space, your safe space, whatever it is, but it needs to be your spot.
Yep.
So that you can just sit down and focus on what it is you're trying to do. Surprisingly for me, when I run reports, payroll reports at work, there's one payroll report that I have to run that I set it up and let it start running, and it freezes up so much of my computer that I can't do anything else. So for me, that's flip some music on my Spotify. It's, do whatever I need to do. And I will sit and I will play with sigils, because I can't get started on anything else because I don't have access to the files and folders that I need to have. So you'll find your space where this process works for you if you're so drawn to doing that. Another source as far as sigil learning, there's a website out there called Udemy, udemy.com.
Yes.
And they have tons of classes on stuff. Astrid is the person that I've studied with. She has a number of courses, but her sigil course is brilliant and it's super easy. And she goes over the basics, and she provides a lot of resources. If you can catch them when they're on sale, these $300-400 classes, you can get them for $12, $13, $15.
Yep.
So it's a good resource to go if you want to be able to print stuff or just download it and have it at reference. But I just, I know what I know, and I like to take classes because I like to see other people's perspectives on it. And she does a very comprehensive intensive on how to create sigils. So it's really kind of brilliant. Yeah, Sherry, I love Udemy too. I've been at it.
I used it too for a few different modalities. And it's finding the way that you learn and honoring that. And you're right. Like people will ask me like, okay, so you started training when I started training when I was 10 to do this. I had a mentor and they taught me, spiritualism, and then also like discerning and stuff from the age of 10 on. And now I'm in my 30s and people are like, you still do classes? And I was like, yes, because I am never going to think I know everything about everything. Are my classes now advanced classes? Yes, because I'm no longer 10. but it's learning new and different and having fun with it. And so you can always learn something from someone, even my colleagues, like talking to Stacie now tonight. I learned something. I'm sure all of you did too. And I like to think when people talk to me occasionally, they learn something, but
yes.
Hopeful. And it's just being open to that. So I never think that you know everything or that one way is the correct way to do it. If you find a way that works for you, honor that, rock it out, absolutely. But that is not the way that everyone is going to do it at all. Okay, bye, Shiri. I love you. I will see you later. She signed off. We love her. She may be asked to be a guest sometime soon too. And it's just important to really honor your authentic self and your learning process and your style and everything like that. Do not compare to anybody else. And I know I say that in like every video and with everything that we talk about, but it's true. It's true with life, but especially with anything to do with spirituality or magic. It's yours. If you try to do it like somebody else, you will be horribly disappointed and not effective at all.
Exactly.
It's the truth.
Exactly. And, and if anybody has any questions about, where do I find stuff on creating sigils, please reach out.
Yes.
You can get me at the website, or you can find us on our Facebook page, rocksolidmamas.com. You can find me, send me a message. Mm-hmm. I try to be as responsive as possible. I usually have 2 computers and a phone at my disposal most of the time. So I try to get back to people as quickly as I can. But, I've consulted numerous resources to mm-hmm. learn the things that I've learned. And I've tried a million different ways to do sigils. And I always come back to the old way because to me, sigils aren't like runes. They're not an alphabet. They're mm-hmm. not, that's not what they are. They're very specific, intent-focused symbols.
Yes.
And so, you could create your own sigil alphabet, I guess, if you really wanted to, but that's a lot of work. And wow.
For you, like you're not going to create unless you're like a creator, like you make a tarot deck or something like that. Like honor it and more power to you if you do that. But if you make like a sigil alphabet, that's for you.
Yeah.
And you personally. So I'm going to pop my website up there. So if you have questions about like your spiritual path and intention and kind of getting clarity on what your sigil should be, not constructing it, though I can give you definitely the basics. Stacie's the one who can give you the specifics. But like tarot readings and stuff like that. So clarity on intention, or to work on your manifesting skills, how you would word that, what you would visualize. Absolutely get a session with me. We can do it remotely or in person. I'm in Brooklyn Center for those who are in the Twin Cities area, and those outside the Twin Cities area can do a phone call because I'm not driving 12 hours to see anyone ever.
Don't blame you.
And
I'm in Champlin, so I'm close enough to the Twin Cities that I can get just about anywhere. The other thing too is remember that if you have something very specific going on in your world and you need to figure out what what direction that sigil needs to go, what your intent should be, don't hesitate to pull a tarot card.
Yep.
I tend to use oracle cards. I have a dragon oracle deck and the elemental oracle deck that I will pull those cards from and say, what am I trying to figure out here? What's, because the universe leads me to the information I need to have at hand. So I will trust the card that I pull to kind of give me that direction. And those cards, oracle cards especially, are very specific on what that stands for. It's not, a reverse interpretation or anything else.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to use those other tools to create the things that you need in order to set your intention and to move forward with what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. And you can absolutely cross over, like use your tarot, use your oracle, pendulum, dowsing rods. Like there are ways if it's like, oh, is this sigil right? Put the pendulum over it. See if it swings yes or no. You'll find ways that if you're confused, you can ask for help. You can also get, like we said, schedule sessions and ask questions, and those are great ways too. And so sigils are just really, I feel they are really important, and that a lot of people use them without knowing, and a lot of people like don't understand the basics of it, and so they get confused. Like with so many things, it's like, oh, a sigil, that's like magic, that's bad. It's like, no, it's not. It's the Nike swoosh is a sigil.
Yeah.
How bad can it be?
Yeah.
It's
Everybody's
the
sigils have been used for, I mean, since pre-Roman times, really.
Yep.
I mean, when you look at, the ancient writings and things like that, there were symbols drawn in there that stood for something very specific.
Yes.
And had a very specific intention.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were at the beginning, you were talking about the cross. Well, it could stand for Christ. It could stand for this. It could stand for sacrifice. It could stand for, everyone's interpretation is different. So you look at the Book of Kells, or you look at, all these other places, and there's stuff carved in rocks in places that have specific meaning that aren't necessarily runes or anything else. It's just a symbol that, I mean, caveman paintings. The bull was a very specific sigil, okay? So
definitely,
it's it was a very specific intent. We need to do this in order to eat, kind of thing. So
and that sigils can do with like manifesting, like we've been talking about a little bit, but it's like the sigils, it's like, yep, this is what I need to do to eat. And it's like, oh, well, that's just superstition. It's like, if you believe something, if you embody that energy, if you send that energy with intention out into the universe, you can make it happen. Like, be realistic with it. If you're like, I want to fly without wings and outside a plane, and then jump off your roof and get super pissed that you broke a leg, not quite right. But it maybe lower it a little bit before you learn to levitate. But if it's like, yep, I need to eat, what sigil are you going to make for that? What energy are you going to put out into the universe for that? It's like, I am eating, I am full, I will get enough food for this week or whatever. And I just use that example because we were talking about the buffalo. But it's that type of thing. So it matters. It matters what energy you put behind something.
For sure.
So be responsible with it, I guess, is also what I'm saying. If you're super pissed and you're like, the worst like curse type thing that I will do, I will get super mad and like send energy out, and I'll be like, I hope they stub their toe. And when they do, I want them to think of me. That is the meanest thing that I send out like with energy. And I don't do it like with intention. It's just like, if I'm super pissed at someone, it's like, that's where it goes. I want you to stub your toe. But if you're sitting there going, I'm going to write a sigil, he's going to get hit by a bus. No.
Don't do that. No. Don't do that. No, because also remember that the energy you put out comes back. Yep. Exactly. So that's why you feed sigils with positive intention. Because that's how you have to do it. There's enough negative in the world. We don't need to put any more out into it.
Exactly. That is so true. So we are coming up on an hour. Thank you so much, Stacie from Rock Solid Mamas. And
thanks for having me.
Again, you can visit her on her website or Facebook. She is super friendly. She does have the mojo bags. Feel free to drop her a line and check her out and everything. This will stay up on my Facebook, and then it'll also be on the YouTube. If you guys want to schedule a session with me, you can always private message me or anything like that. Please don't call. I'm a millennial. Text, email, Instagram. Let's be realistic with our expectations of millennials and how often we talk on the phone. So yeah, just come forward, try sigils. I would love to hear, if not see. If you're not comfortable taking a picture and showing it online, tell us what sigil you're making, what it's about. Like, rock it out, brag about it. It's like, oh, I made a sigil for sleep, or I made a sigil, for healthy eating or something like that. Absolutely. Share it with us. We would love to hear it. And we're not going to throw shade. We're going to
absolutely not.
We want to share in that. We want to like bring up the awesomeness and just celebrate with you that you're making symbols and intentions that are good for you in your life. We want that for you. We want you to be awesome. So again, Stacie, thank you so much. And
absolutely. And again, too, if people need help making their sigil, or they need a custom bag, I'm here. That's what I do.
Exactly. And again, she's super friendly. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure to like, follow, share, all of that stuff so that you can see more of these awesome things and anything cool to come and any other weird fucked up shit that I will do on
crazy shit Lily did today.
Oh my God. Yesterday I did a TikTok about not closing the back end of a hospital gown and being proud of it. So you never know what I'm going to talk about. You never know. It was a moment, and I'm still okay with it because there is no shame. No shame. So everyone, thank you. Have a great night. Don't forget to be a spiritual badass.